All right, so here's my Akrapovic exhaust for the CB300. And you know that I made I modified the dB killer so that I restricted it so it's not as noisy. Reduced the flow too, because you know this basically it's just straight shot through. So I restricted it down so that way it's a little better on the bottom and mid-range. Because when it was a straight shot through, the bottom and mid-range was actually you know, you lose some bottom and mid-range. You know, I felt the top end was a little bit more, you know, more free flowing, but the bottom and mid-range got kind of wimpy. So you block it off and you know, create some back pressure, and that helps with the bottom end and mid-range. So anyways, so here it is off. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on a O2 bung, because I'm gonna be tuning the bike soon, so I need the O2 bung to you know, tell me the air fuel ratio. So I marked a little spot right here, you know, use a Sharpie, put the O2 bung, you know, lined it where I want it to be, and put a Sharpie inside here and marked it. So I just need to drill this hole here and drill it out. Then I could, you know, once I do that, I could weld this bung on here. So this thing is very thick. You know, this thing is easily 1/8 of an inch thick. You know, this wall thickness here, easily 1/8 of an inch. Whereas this right here, this is only, that's only, geez, I think that's only like an 18 gauge. So this is not even a 16 gauge. This is probably only an 18 gauge. Maybe even I'm thinking maybe even a 20 gauge, but I think it's an 18 though. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna drill this out. After I drill it out, I'm gonna need to clean it up, and then I could weld it. All right, so I center punched it. Well, you know, I didn't punch it in the center because this thing is angled, so I want the hole to be more towards this end over here versus this end, because once the O2 sensor sits in here, it's not going to be all the way down right here. It's going to be like something like this, right? So something like that. So that means this end here will be kind of exposed. So that's where you want the hole to clear the O2 sensor. So anyway, so I center punched it. After I center punch it, I drill a little pilot hole. And after that, I'm going to use my biggest drill bit, which is a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to drill, you know, the 1/2 inch. And when you drill a pilot hole, what you want to do all right, so I center punched it, and I drilled a pilot hole. So you notice that my hole is not centered to the marker. That's what I want, because you know, pretend this was the end of the O2 sensor, and it fits in here. So it fits in like so. If you look at this, you see that this end up here is where it extends beyond the bung, whereas the bottom end down here it doesn't, right? So it's gonna sit something like that. So I'm not too concerned about the end down here. I'm more concerned about the end up, you know, the end up here versus the end over here. So the end up here is where it's gonna extend beyond the bung. So that's where I need the clearance for that hole here. So anyways, I drilled the, you know, that's why it's not centered with this oval here, because you know this is an oval, right? So anyways, drill the pilot hole, and now I'm gonna use my biggest drill bit I have, which is a 1/2 inch. To drill the rest of this. And when you drill a pilot hole, what you want to do, if you look at the drill bit here, you see that, you know, this center right here, the center, God, what is this called? The center chisel or whatever it's called, the center point. It has a certain size to it, a certain you guys can't see it very well, but anyways, it has a certain size, a certain width to it. At that center point. So what you want is that you want your pilot hole to be big enough to fit that center point, because that center point, it doesn't really it doesn't really cut, you know, because a drill is basically a twisted chisel. So you have your cutting edge right here, right? You have this edge right here. This is the cutting edge right here on one side, and the other side has a cutting edge, but the middle doesn't really cut, right? So that's why you want the pilot hole to be the size of that middle or close to it. Then it's much more effective that way. And you don't want it to be bigger than that, because if you make it bigger, let's say you make a hole bigger than this, let's say you, instead of going from this pilot hole to this hole, you have like 2 or 3 more different drill bits in stages. What happens is that when you go to the bigger one, let's say your hole is already like, you know, halfway of this halfway of this diameter. So let's say it's like all the way up here already. So now this center half doesn't cut because there's nothing there, because there's a hole. Then this outer edge, this outer shoulder here cuts. And when you do that, it actually stresses the bit, and it will cause the shoulder here, the edge of the shoulder here, to chip, to break off. So that's how you ruin drill bits. So all you need the pilot hole to be is just where the center chisel is, the center point, and no more than that. Any more than that, it will actually mess up the cutting edge of the drill. Okay, so that's my advice for you guys. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm doing this on a drill press. It's a lot easier, but you know, you could do it on a hand drill as well. But just make sure that you put even pressure and slow speeds, because when you're cutting hard metal, especially stainless steel, don't go fast. Go slow. Go slow and firm pressure. Okay. All right. So I drew the 1/2-inch hole. I don't think it's gonna be big enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a rat tail file and file this out a little bit with a file. I'm probably just gonna elongate it a little bit. I think width-wise it's not so bad, but probably elongate it just a little bit. So that way, hopefully it'll clear the O2 sensor. All right, so this exhaust is actually not mounted yet. Well, it needs one more bolt. I need to actually get another bolt. Anyways, so let's look at it. So when I was making the bung, I didn't realize, see right here how it angles. I didn't realize that. I thought this side right here was flat with the side of the bike. So I didn't account for that. I accounted for it to be like that instead of like this, right? So look at the result of that. So here I have the O2 sensor hooked up, or you know, wired in, not wired in, but you know, attached. So so earlier that angle, so if I, you know, I didn't realize the angle was tilted away from the bike. So because of that, this O2 sensor is angled a little bit down more than I would like, but it's still okay though. If you look at it, it's still above the exhaust pipe over here, the manifold, the pipe right here. So it's still above that. But you know, this is only temporary anyways. This is only for tuning purposes. So I'll probably only have it on here for, you know, maybe 1,000 miles or so, not that long, just so I could tune the bike and make sure the fueling is correct. So that's that. From this side anyways, this angle. Let's look at it from the other angle. From this angle over here. So from this angle you can see it's right here, right, like so. And here's the Evap canister at my pointer finger. So let's look from down here. You see that? So yes, I could have had this angle right here up more. And again, that's because of this exhaust angle right here. If this exhaust angle was like that, where I thought it was, but you know, it's been a while since I have this exhaust on. It's actually, the last time I had this exhaust on was when was the last time I had this exhaust on? It was before summer, I think, was the last time I had this exhaust on. So it's been like 6 months since I last had this exhaust on. So anyways, if this exhaust was angled like this, my angle down there, the O2 would have been, you know, instead of being angled down like this, it would have been more like that. But that was my, you know, that was my mistake. But anyways, so that's how it looks with the O2 sensor on. Okay. And let's do this side here. It's getting dark here. So you can see it's angled down. So let's take off that O2 sensor and put on the actual plug. And once the plug is in, it's like, you know, it's like as if it wasn't even there, right? All right, so there's the O2 bung. It's stuck on there. Or not the O2 bung. I mean the O2 bung plug. It's on there. Let's see. See that? See that? So the bung's on there. So that's how it is. That's how it looks. Stick from the bottom here. So there it is, like so. All right. So completely out of the way. You know, people probably don't even know it's there if it's not pointed out. Okay, so that's it. So I'm not gonna tune the bike for a while. You know, maybe when I have time to put in the new high compression piston, then I'll do it. But until then, I'm not. I'm just gonna leave it like this. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna run around like this with the O2 sensor in there for a short time, just to see what the stock fueling is before I even mess with anything. I want to see what the stock fueling is. So yeah. So I think I'm gonna wire up the O2 sensor here for a short time, so I can see what the stock fueling is. And once I figure out what the stock fueling is, when I do put the high compression piston in, I'm gonna see how it runs on the stock fueling, and see what the readings are compared to completely stock. Then I could start you know, start tuning with the fueling, you know, start playing with the fueling, and you know, see how that runs. All right, so that's it for now. All right, so here's my O2 sensor, or excuse me, my gauge for my O2 sensor, lambda sensor, right? It's just temporary zip tied for everything. I'm probably gonna only have this for maybe about 1,000 miles while I check the factory FE ratio. Then once I put in the high compression piston, I could double check the FE ratio, see how much different it is. If it's not any different, I'm just gonna leave it as is. I just ran it down right here, like so. So here will, kind of hard to see, but see that loop right there? I made it extra big so that way, oops, shouldn't have done that. Should have tucked under there. Oh, guess it's not tucking in there. Anyways, the wires should be out of the way for the most part. Run down like so. No zip tie. I have the power plugged in right here. This is to my electric heater, electric jacket basically. So I can turn it on, and it turns it on. I just have it here like so. Once this seat goes on, it should be hovering above this. It doesn't touch right here, so it should be fine. Run it down like so. Right here, this is where the connector is to the O2 bung. And down in here, it's just like so, like that, and that's it. So that's how I ran it. Actually, no, I'll put everything back and I'll turn the engine on, and so you can see the numbers. All right, so I got my seat. I'll put it back together. Here's my on-off switch right here for the O2 sensor. So let's turn it on real quick. Turn it on. Yada yada. Right now it's reading. What the hell is it reading? 14.8. It shouldn't be reading anything. Oh, it's going down now. It's going down. Oops, going up. So that's right. So it should be going up because right now it's just oxygen, right? Start that up. Oops, let's see what's going on. Oh, I have it in gear. Let me put it in neutral. Neutral. So the engine is completely cold, right? It's completely cold. So initially it's going to be a little rich because of the you know, when the cold start, it's always gonna be a little rich, so it's showing a little rich. You have 2,000 RPM. Let it idle down a little bit. Once it idle down a little bit, it should lean up a little bit. See that? It's getting leaner already. Oh, look at that. It's beyond stoic. Stoic is 14.7, right? 14.7, 14.8. So even in idle's a little lean. So what I'm going to be doing is as I ride around, I'm going to be paying attention to the number, and I want to see where it's at, you know, under whatever conditions. Wide open, up the hill, wide open flat, wide open downhill, steady speed, whatever, all kinds of conditions, uphill, downhill, whatever. And I want to pay attention to this, and I make note of it. So later on when I tune, I can adjust my tuning for where it needs more fuel or not. Alright, so had about maybe 5 minutes to warm up, so it's fully warmed up for the most part. The air fuel actually dropped down a little bit. Before it was what, like closer to 16 or somewhere around 16. Let me rev it up a little bit and see what it shows. We'll go to 3,000. Very close to stoichiometric. That's pretty good. So basically when it revs up, it actually dropped below stoic, so that's good. That means it's slightly, you know, gives it a little bit more richness, so it gives a little more power that way. But anyways, that was obviously no load, right? So once I start riding, I'm gonna see what RPM I'm at and see, you know, the RPM and what load, basically, meaning what type of load, meaning if I'm going on the flat or if I'm going uphill or downhill or whatever. So I look at the load, the RPM, and the air fuel ratio, and that would tell me, you know, what I need to do as far as tuning goes. Once I put in the high compression piston, I could compare what the reading is now and basically stock setup, except for the Akrapovic, right? The Akrapovic. Otherwise, everything else is stock. So I pay attention to that. And once I put in the high compression piston, I can do the same thing and pay attention to it, and I can compare the two before and after high compression piston. So anyways, that's how it is for now. Yeah, so it's gonna be a while until I put in the high compression piston. But once I have that in, I have to ride it around like this, you know, for a while first, just to see how it performs. Then once I put in the high compression piston, I can compare the two. Then I'll get back to you guys. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.